We are live 364 days a year. What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan. Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get 50 after Monday Night Raw? What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, October 16th. And I'm going to break down Dynamite with some friends today. In the words of, speaking of friends, friend of the show, Fernando Zayas, it's time to light the fuse and ignite this Dynamite review. No doubt about it. Yes, I'm fired up. And we've even got shot in the comments spoiling my first co-host today. But I'm going to keep this one on the West Coast. No doubt about it. For this AEW breakdown. Merry, how are you? Good to see you as always.
All Elite Merry. I like how that sounds. I think I'm gonna stick with it for sure. But I'm excited. This was a pretty good show, but I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the real question: is have you officially, now that you've been on multiple Thursday shows, become a sicko yet, Merry? Is that the case? Almost.
Maybe a little bit.
Close.
Like the size of my acrylic nail.
Yep.
That much.
Starting to have some sicko tendencies. We can see it. You never know. A month from now, it really will be All Elite Merry. No, I'm kidding. Either way, let's send this across the country to my good buddy. Always love having you on a Thursday. It feels like a throwback. Hint, hint. Gotta love it. Anthony Ricciardi, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, it's always fun to go to the old stomping grounds of Thursdays and throwback, if you will, and cover Dynamite and probably annoy people at the same time. So it's always good.
I dig it. And not only that, I do dig the gritty hat. I have to mention that. And also, I didn't realize it. Actually, the Philadelphia Flyers gritty predated the dance, the gritty. So don't get confused by that, anybody. I had Googled that earlier this week because I got in a little bit of an argument with another one of my buddies. And it might be the dumbest thing I've ever typed into a search engine, to be honest. I the next day I woke up and I opened up my internet on my cell phone and was like, why did I Google that? I'm not entirely sure. But it's kind of a non-traditional Dynamite open. You know, we're used to that. Maybe there's already two in the ring. We're about to have a match. And that's something else I enjoyed. Changing up the pace a little bit. Toni Storm, to me, still is the biggest star in women's wrestling. I cannot wait for this match this weekend. But what were your thoughts on the brawl, the exchange, all of the above? Merry, I'm going to start with you.
I enjoyed that a lot. It really showed the aura between the two, I would say, modern day terms right now, aura. I'd say Chris Stanlander and Tony, this is going to be match of the night, I feel, at Wrestle Dream. The exchange between the two, though, I would say was really fascinating just for that belt spot. Was that supposed to kind of like establish a heel, to say the least? That's kind of what I drew from that, to see who would draw kind of the worst out of each other, to see if this is going to truly be like a fair fight between two, I'd say the best, in my opinion.
I mean, I definitely think when it comes to this, to your point, we're looking at like kind of two tweeners. It's hard to root against either one. And we almost didn't really have time to decide who's the heel. So I think we're looking at sort of a babyface versus babyface rivalry. And for one of the few times of late, I really don't mind it. Anthony, I want to get your thoughts. Do you kind of feel the same way with Tony and Statlander? It's almost like a take your pick on what you prefer, but it doesn't bother me either way. And that's where I think Tony's brilliant, because Tony's character and what she's developed here is undeniably entertaining. So she's almost impossible in my eyes to root against personally, but she does have heelish tendencies. The character is delusional, right? The character is like in a time machine and views Tony Storm views herself as timeless, right? And it's extravagant and all of that. So I do think with these two in particular, while I've in the past been really critical of the babyface versus babyface booking in certain situations, I think it works here. Are you in agreement on that? And what did you think of the segment last night, Ant?
I love the opening. I thought it was unique. It was different. The thing with timeless Toni Storm, and I've said this before, she is the most marketable, the most over women's wrestler probably in the business, not just in AEW. Monet has 10 belts. No one cares. Toni Storm has 0 and is still a bigger star, in my opinion. I enjoyed it. I think the difference between Toni Storm as a babyface and a heel is when she's a babyface, she's in on the delusion with you. It's all fun and games. But when she's a heel, she's just delusional. And I think that's the difference. This is a unique situation where there's babyface against babyface. Generally, business-wise, that typically doesn't draw money. They've done it in the past. Wrestling has done it. Infamously, Undertaker took on Austin at the 98 SummerSlam. They were both baby faces. But it's unique. I wasn't overly crazy about I'm going to hit me with the belt. No, you hit me with the belt. I wasn't overly crazy about that. I thought that was a little weird. I get that they're trying in this weird situation. I'm not going to take a cheap shot. No, you're not. They're not going to take cheap shots on one another. Was the gist of it, and I get it. But Toni Storm's the draw. She's the one that whether you're cheering her or you love to hate her, she's the star in this. Like, I'll be honest with you, you could put anybody across from her, and it's going to draw because it's her. She's the draw, and it's just plug and play with other people. The problem that they have is she's so over, she doesn't need the belt. But then what do you do with her when she's not with the belt? And that's the problem. You have this situation now. I guess you have Statlander go over her cleanly, definitively, as opposed to a quick roll up the last time. But I don't know what you do. Like, you're going to have to take her out of the world title picture if you don't give Toni Storm the belt. Like, I don't know what you do, because she's going to outshine everybody in that company, whether they have the belt or not.
Such a good point. That's the hardest part about booking Toni Storm.
Toni Storm, in a lot of ways, is like Roman Reigns in WWE. Like, he is the man. She is the woman. Like, that's the problem, because even without the belt, she's the star. And that's it's a weird problem to have, but
it's almost like too good. You're too good in certain situations to even be more versatile. And that's where it's really interesting. You mentioned something that I would agree with when it comes to the belt shots thing. That fit Timeless Toni Storm. I don't know how much it fit somebody as strong as Chris Statlander, and like the kissing the biceps. I don't know. It was a bit much. Like there, and we've got a comment really quick here. And I want to read. Really good friend of the show and one of the biggest AEW fans I know, Donnie Da Silva, with Stat and Tony taking turns on their knees waiting for belt shots from their opponents was one of the smartest things I've ever seen. No, I'm kidding. He didn't like it. He said dumbest. I just had to get, for our audio listeners, I had to give Donnie some crap there.
No, but
either way.
No, what it reminded me of, it also reminds me of, and I'm not crazy about this, is, and they especially do this in New Japan. No, you slap my chest. No, I'll slap yours. It's
yes. Well, all Japan, historically, right? That's your Misawa, and those type of matches.
But it's I don't know. Like, granted, I know this is all storyline. It's all no one's doing that in a real fight. No one's going. Nobody's doing that. They're in a fight. They're going to fight. They're not going to be like, no, you take your shot, I take yours. It's not going to happen.
Very true. Very true. We've got Fernando Zayas with the Tony and Chris Stat story has been fire. I actually agree. I think the story's been very good. And then Donnie said, agreed. Face versus face will typically not draw as much as heel versus face. And tweeners are just poorly booked / poorly worked talent that draw nothing. I agree, but I do think we do have actually face versus face this time, and it does work. Like, you can blur the line enough as far as the between thing that if somebody takes a liberty, I think we can get away with it here. Fernando said that Chris Stat has become a lot more interesting thanks to this story with Timeless Toni Storm. And I think that's fair. I think she's kind of always been interesting. Shad in the comments, speaking of friends of the show, member of the program here, with she should get some time off. I kind of agree with that too. Chris Stat is winning on Saturday with help from the Death Riders. Too soon. And then Shad added, it's like Rhea, to be honest. That's a great comparison. And then Donnie agreeing that letting your opponent hit you, a la the Japanese, the All Japan or New Japan style is
Mhm.
silly. It's tough, and it's evident they've never been in a real fight. Sure enough, for sure. I will say though, go watch Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti. They invited contact back and forth. Speaking of real fights, and that's a boxing reference for those that are unaware there. But if you haven't seen those fights, there was a little bit of that attitude. Those are also two of the craziest guys ever to lace up a pair of boxing gloves. But there is some realism to the "you hit me, I hit you. Let's see whose chin goes first." That has happened in a real prize fight in the past. There's no doubt about that. But Mary, did you have anything to add on this? And let's do an early prediction, because as far as the prediction shows are concerned for this, I don't believe either of us three are technically booked for it. So why wouldn't we do it now? Mary, who do you have winning the match?
I'd say Statlander. As much as that kills me, as much as my heart, my timeless little heart, she's got to go over somehow. I just don't know if it'll be with help of the Death Riders, which, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. No, please.
I'm with you there. So your pick though is Stat officially. Okay.
I say so.
Who are you going with, Ant?
I think Statlander should go over, and you do one of two things. Either the person who costs Tony, if you get somebody to interfere, that branches Tony away from the world title. But realistically, Tony should be off TV for a while. You need to get her off TV, because Stat's never going to go this way as long as Tony's still there.
I could not agree more, and that's why I have
Same.
Statlander winning. But guess who it's not? Is the Death Riders. I like the idea of somehow Mercedes Moné doing this and writing Tony off TV for that, because that's how we can get back to Tony and Moné and take Tony away from the world title picture. Her return is the end of this TBS title run. And we've got this comment from back here that I did want to add from Chris Leclerc. He said Mercedes has officially tied Jade Cargill's TBS title record and will break her TBS championship record tomorrow. The way I view that, though, is by days held. To me, what made the Jade run special was the Goldberg-esque undefeated streak. And I don't think the record is quite there, but I like the idea of another Monet and Storm chapter in that story, because I think those two just absolutely have amazing chemistry and can tell one of the best stories, whether it's over the world title or the TBS title. That's where I'm at. Zach Minger here with National Sports Day. Heck yeah. Let's go. I love the national days. Keep that up, Zach. Thank you. We appreciate that every single time. No doubt about it. But let's move on to some tag team action here. Let's talk about the Hurt Syndicate. We hurt people. We hurt people. Except not this time. The gates of agony were opened. And the gates of agony got the job done. It's not ideal for the Hurt Syndicate. Could they possibly lose a second match in a row this weekend? I don't know. It does seem a little weird because, history-wise, we've seen different stuff here with the Hurt Syndicate going into this, whether it's street fights and whatnot like that. And now we've got sort of like a tornado tag match. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Ant. What do you think it means for the Syndicate? I don't necessarily love taking the loss, but I don't hate it either. I'm torn. I'm torn because I enjoyed the match.
Okay, I want to start by issuing an apology. I want to apologize that I said the name of the Ops or Big Bill was the dumbest name I've heard. It has now been replaced by The Demand with Ricochet's group. Who demanded it? Who thought that was a good name? It's not. No one's demanding. No. But to this match, obviously, I think the Gates of Agony picked up the win here because they want to try to make them look like a credible threat over the Hurt Syndicate. I assume that's what it is. I'm not really a fan of really either team, to be perfectly honest. I've always liked Shelton Benjamin, but other than that, I don't really have much there. Personally, it's never been a draw for me. But I think that's what it was designed for. the Gates of Agony to pick up some momentum of their credible threat. Because honestly, if the Hurt Syndicate won, it would, I guess, lessen the interest in the match tomorrow night, on Saturday night, because it's like at that point you're like, okay, well, this is a job squad match, even though it probably still is a job squad match, to be honest. But it at least throws the intrigue of like, well, maybe they can win. I think that's the gist of it, to be perfectly honest.
I hear you. I will say I've probably got a little bit more love for the Syndicate than you do, because I am a fan, especially of MVP too. Shelton and Lashley, I have just a mountain of respect for, given his athleticism and what he's been able to accomplish over his career as a dual sport athlete, because you also know my interest in combat sports as well. So I got to come clean on that. Gates of Agony keep impressing me. I was kind of unsure with them. Both guys can really go. And what I like about them is, and I say this all the time, I sound like a broken record, real tag team.
Yeah.
Matching gear, good name, real tag team. As much as we were making fun of names earlier, Gates of Agony, dope name. Matching gear, real tag team. Like, they checked all the boxes.
That name I like, and honestly, I think they're a really good team. I have way more interest in them than I do Ricochet these days, to be perfectly honest.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got some extra time here too, Mary. What are your thoughts on this and the tag team stuff, and how do you see this going, especially this weekend?
I love the Hurt Syndicate just for the fact that they finally could showcase the three of them and how dominant they really can be. And like you said, Clark, the Gates of Agony, they actually impressed me on this one. I thought it was just going to be a pushover Hurt Syndicate dub per usual, but no, now I actually see a real tag team going up against a real tag team like Bobby and Shelton. But there's always just a part of me that just wants to see Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and just see what they can do just alone, I guess. I just hope this doesn't lead to an early break.
Associated is what I would like to see. I would like to see separate but together at this, right? They're in the Hurt Syndicate,
completely,
but they're doing their own side missions, right?
Yeah, like their own side quests. To where like they all have their each like little thing, rather than just, oh, which trio can we put over next?
I'm all over that. Now, before we move along to like, some more things, I do want to address one comment from Donnie Silva, because this cracks me up. He said the Demand is the second worst team name ever, second to the Conglomeration. It's the Conglomeration. It's the Conglomeration. And I learned today that Donnie, not a fan of farmers or Southern accents, Delaware accents to be specific. Come on, Donnie. The Conglomeration, it makes perfect sense. Conglomerate, too, by the way. It's not even the Conglomeration. It's the Conglomerate. The worst name, though, in tag team history, bar none, and I'll never get over it because I love both performers. I think they're awesome together as a team. Gargano and Ciampa are two of my favorites. But do it yourself, DIY, implies not being a team. Like, if it was do it yourselves, that's even goofier, but do it yourself, that's like, what are they trying to compete with each other? Like, the name implies not teamwork. I've never understood DIY. DIY at least stuck, but what does DIY stand for? Do it yourself. Like, that's not, I don't get it, because it's like, do it yourselves, maybe, but even that's a reach. How do we get there? He said it's a good name for babyface teams, Two for Heels. I don't think it's a good name, period, because it's do it yourself. It's like DIY is like household projects in my eyes too. It's right. Like, at least demand is a strong verb. It's
the demand.
Don't do it.
There is no demand.
I might have gone with like in demand or on demand or something like that would be cool. But
Ricochet's none of those, man. But go ahead.
That's a good point. But hey, man, half the wrestlers are lying about what they really are. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. But speaking of things, let's talk about some truth things. Let's talk about Barista Coffee. Head over to barista.com. Check it out. Barista is small batch organic coffee created through excellence, authenticity, and unforgettable moments. If you head over there, you're going to absolutely love it. It's some of the freshest coffee you can get right now. None of those microplastics like in a Keurig. And not only that, they got awesome merch. Check out the logo. It's wicked. You can get a visor and a hat while you're hot, especially with your first order. Check it out. That drive-through meltdown coffee has been my morning routine for months now. Highly recommend it, my friends. Check it out. You will love it. It's also one of my best friends' passion projects. So mad support. We love Bo. Monster shout out. He played great over in Japan this week too, if you're a golf fan, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to pro wrestling like our originally scheduled program here. Let's talk about Moxley and Darby Allin. And I get jail. There's a lot of things going on here. I am more than anything just curious as to how far this gets pushed. When it comes to this Saturday, all that this did when it comes to my thinking heading into this weekend's pay-per-view is scare me, because somebody's going to catch fire. It's going to be a lot of blood. I don't know how you make either of these two fellows quit anything. They wouldn't quit a game of hopscotch across hot lava. Like, I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to be the most violent match, I'm afraid, in AEW history. And we've seen some violent matches. Violent matches. Jail already, all of this. Obviously, fire has become one of the staples of AEW since Swerve Strickland burnt down Swerve Strickland's childhood home was burnt down by Hangman Page. Like, at the end of the day, I'm so afraid of the amount of fire. The segment was off the charts. Fernando, I'm in agreement here. It was cinema. Finally, wrestlers getting arrested on TV and put in jail. Yes, I dig it. It also sort of the going to jail the week of an I Quit match like this feels almost Monsters Ballish. Like, oh, they were already mad. Now they have to spend another night in jail as a throwback to some like old, you know what I mean? Like, they already hate each other now, like be in a dark room for a night. I kind of am tickled by that. I really enjoyed this, but I am terrified for Saturday. Mary, what were your thoughts on not only the segment, the arrest, the jail time, and Saturday?
I personally enjoyed the jail segment a lot more than I enjoyed what happened in the ring. I don't know. I'm kind of ready for this feud to be over, and I hope to the almighty Bobby Lashley that it's over. I want a finish here. And I think after this particular segment, I think now coming towards Wrestle Dream, we're going to see who actually comes out on top this time. And I kind of want to see the same thing happen to Jon Moxley as we are kind of predicting with Tony Storm. I kind of want Darby to finally just go over, and then we see the Death Riders just kind of leaderless, without their mouthpiece, without their El Jefe, their boss man, you know. But between the jail segment and what happened in the ring, the jail segment, I'd say it sounded just like my best friend's gonna love this. I'd say between like Batman and the Riddler, if you want me to be honest with you. I think that's the 100% vibe I got from that particular segment. I loved it. But whatever happened in the ring, it was the usual beat up Darby Allin, repeat. And I'm ready for this story to be over.
I am. It's weird. I'm torn. I don't know that I'm ready for it to be over. I don't want it to be extended. This is the definitive end. But I'm nervous for how they're going to do it, right? And Donnie with Tell Him Girl, absolutely, yes, no doubt. We've got Say in here in the comments with Darby Allin is going to hold Renee Paquette hostage and make Moxley quit. I think that's too heelish. Here's where my brain's at. So Molotov cocktail type stuff has just been teased. Does that connect? Is that what? Yeah. Thank you, Donnie. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's too heelish for Darby to pull that off. But does somebody get actually hit with a Molotov cocktail? Are we going to see? I mean, I thought with the way the flamethrower stuff started, that we were setting up for potentially some sort of an Inferno or a fire infused type of a match headed into this. Personally, that was my gut instinct. Now we're on I Quit. I don't see a scenario where fire's not involved. It's a bad day to be an eyebrow on Darby Allin and John Moxley on Saturday. Because those are, my guess is going to be singed or I guess an arm hair. You're in trouble if that's the case. I think I don't know exactly how it happens, but I do actually. Yeah, that's a good point, Tony. Why not do a 9mm match? Like, honestly, that's kind of my fear. I think that's like, I think we're like literally one step away from that's what it's going to take to get one of these two guys to quit, right? That's what my fear is how far do we push this? One thought I maybe sort of had is because of the way the Death Riders being the anti sort of AEW thing. If you had Darby sort of choking Moxley with an AEW flag, right? And maybe the threat of fire, maybe he's got a pant leg on fire, right? Or his shoe, or something we can gimmick a la Kane's arm in the first ever Inferno match. And that's what causes him to quit. And the symbolism of, Darby being the heart and soul of AEW and using like the AEW flag or an AEW t-shirt or something, right? Like that I could see if Moxley is going to be the one to quit. What I'm more inclined to believe will be the case is something like what Donnie said earlier about Bryan Danielson being threatened, where Darby Allin quits to save his buddy. Some sort of, Danielson is cornered. I mean, this goes all the way back to the plastic bag stuff that we saw years ago. It's a callback that is something I do enjoy, even though I didn't necessarily enjoy the plastic bag segments in the first place. At least don't insult our intelligence and give us a little bit where history is involved. It can be maybe full circle. Maybe they're threatening him to do it again. That's the only scenario where I see Darby losing. But Ant, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on this one also before we move along. What do you think as far as the results look like? What did you think of the segment last night also? Because it was very extreme to say the least. Anton, you are from the home of the extreme, Philadelphia, so nobody better to ask.
Yeah, obviously it was a different type of segment. I didn't really care for Pac popping up behind and beating up Darby, because if it really was a jail, wouldn't there be a guard or somebody intervening with that? Just a thought. So it kind of hurt some of the believability there. The Death Riders thing I've gone on and on about. I always thought it was a bad storyline that went nowhere. It was a second takeover without an actual takeover. This thing should have ended it all in when they did essentially their version of Endgame, but they decided, no, we're going to drag this corpse along for a few more months of storyline, or a few more weeks, or whatever it is at this point. These are two guys that have death witches. These are two guys that Tony Khan just kind of lets them do what they want. And it's cringe for me because I know how extreme that both of them will get. And I'm afraid of what could happen, because they just feel that they're invincible. They can do it. And if something bad happens, I'm afraid what that does to AEW from a public perspective, because I think neither one of them are happy unless they do it at all. I want this to be the end of this thing. Darby should go over. Moxley should be off TV. They need him off TV. Like, whatever happens, he's got to be off. We've seen too much of him at this point. If they would have the way I would do it, honestly, because neither one wants to quit. I mean, you could have Moxley quit, but what I would honestly do, it gets so extreme because it will. I'll pull Renee out. Have Renee go out and go over John and like throw in the towel, and she calls quits for the thing. Then after it, you have the Death Riders beat down Moxley. He's done. We're done with him. That gets him off TV. Then when he comes back, then you can have him as a babyface, because everyone's turned on him. He could be the babyface again, because this Death Rider thing needs to end. No one's gotten over from this story.
See, I like that idea because say he was saying on the holding the hostage thing, but the way you flipped it there, where it's Renee's doing the no more, like she pulled the plug on the ruthlessness. She's done with
that
it.
way. Moxley doesn't quit. He saves face.
Ah,
Darby wins because that needs to be the end of this thing.
Anthony, that is one of the most creative, well thought out ideas I've heard in a long time, and I would truly enjoy that. That's awesome.
It kind of like protects both of them if you think about it.
It does, and
That's
it ends
exactly
the
what it
feud. And it ends the feud. It does. It ends
And
the
then-
feud
and
because
then
of the wholesomeness.
And then Claudio or Pac or whatever, if they decide to continue the Death Riders, one of them can lead it. Almost like when Shawn went down with the back and Hunter goes, "You let us down," and led his own DX. That's kind of what you do. And then the Death Riders can have a new identity because now Moxley and Shafir are out of it or whatever they want to do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Donnie said Ant could be cooking, but for that to really land, Mox has to show a moment during the match where he stops cheap shots, tries to win honorably. Yes, Donnie. Yep. Love that. Old school psych. We're all on the same page there, I think. Absolutely. But man, heck of an idea there, Ant. Like, that's not one I'd considered. And honestly, it's gonna bug me if it lands perfectly. And I'm like, dang it, you called it. Not because you called
It's on
it
video.
Not because you called it, but because if it played out perfectly, I would have been stunned. And now I'll be like,
Oh yeah, I
"Ant
just
knew
ruined
it."
it for you.
No, I'm teasing. I'm totally messing with you. For sure. I think there's a lot podcast scripture, but then again, Spidey, you said it yourself. No one got over in the Death Riders. Okay, an interesting point there. Before we move on, I have to say something. I've been saying it all year, and as a bald guy, I should not be criticizing anybody's follicles or hair in any way. But there's never been a more effective AEW haircut than Kyle Fletcher. I don't think there's ever been a less effective haircut and outfit change than Box. I can't take him seriously. It looks ridiculous. What was the thought process there? Who told him it was a good idea? He's dressed as mini Kevin Nash with short hair. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't look like Pac. Like, you can't even use the B word anymore. You can't even use the B word anymore. He looks like he's wearing overalls and he's got a soccer mom haircut that he just got out of the shower with every single time.
You know, I think Pac's one highlight of his entire AEW run was tapping out Omega, and that was ages ago. That was I don't think he's done anything since.
Yes, 100%. Okay, by the way, Donnie's right. The worst haircut actually is Wardlow. That was a huge mistake.
You mean Mr. I won't stand in line anymore? And that's what he did.
That's so funny. Also, I love this too, by the way. Speaking of, one more comment. I actually didn't catch that one at first. Ant's about to take over bookings of the 2300. That'd be easy. Walking distance for his new gig. No doubt about it. Let's talk about the Ops versus LFI, though, in the main event. I do like that LFI's sort of involved in stuff because I am a fan of New Japan.
You're like, just because they're being used. That's the answer. You're
Yeah,
like, I like that they're
basically,
being used.
I like that they're using them, and I think that's good. Thank you. You saw right through that.
You're like, they're not catering
they're
this
on
week.
TV.
Congrats.
Hey, I get to see the guys. They're good. So either way, the Ops get the win. Then there's some spitting from Roosh. And of course, that leads Hangman to get involved post-match. Coquina clutch for the victory with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe and Hangman Page can put on an awesome match. I know that they're trying to make the story more aggressive. This is one of the few first times where you could ever put Hangman and Samoa Joe on a card for me. And I'm not even really sure it should be the main event. Like, I might open with this one for once in AEW, which you very rarely do with the AEW World Championships on the men's side. But truthfully, I might have them go out there and just put on an absolute classic for the first 20, 25 minutes of the show as best they can and get this one behind us. Cause I just,
what would you have as the main event out of curiosity?
That's the hard part. I think you go with Darby Mox as the main event. Cause I don't know how you follow the cleanup.
The bloodbath. Yeah.
The cleanup of what that
murder.
What the cleanup it's going to take on the match. I'm not necessarily saying it should be, but like, right. The way that like a lights out unsanctioned one is kind of like, if you go all the way back to the classic lights out Moxley and Kenny match.
Honestly, how can you ask someone else to go out there and wrestle despite the fact that Matt has charred remains of two people in the match?
More importantly, how can you ask like 30 people to go out and clean up the mess that they make. Like
well, they just switched the mat out.
It's gonna be. I mean, dude, I don't know. Ropes could be on fire. The whole ring could be on fire.
Well, you're
Like, you know,
$1 billion company.
We've all
Sure you
seen
have extras.
We've all seen Sheik and Sabu in FMW, dude. You never know. There might not be enough oxygen in the ring if there's enough.
Well, they really thought that through.
It was wild. But Mary, I gotta ask you about your thoughts on, first off, the match last night, but more importantly, the main event headed into this weekend's show for AEW.
First off, Samoa Joe. I just love Samoa Joe. I've always been such a big fan, and he could always put over people relatively in the most neutral way possible, without the aggression, without a bloodbath, without extreme measures. So to come to their match, I'd say Hangman unfortunately does go over here. I don't see Joe pulling off a secret victory. Again, as much as that kills me, I love Samoa Joe. But to the main event, as far as tonight, well, for Dynamite to say the least, it did its job.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm at. And I've also been saying, by the way, acting like the pay-per-views on Saturday, I'll show. It's on Sunday. That's on me. I did want to make sure.
It is Saturday, isn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Sunday.
No, it's the 18th.
It's Saturday.
What?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the 18th.
Okay, well, then I was right. How about me correcting myself when I was right? Woof.
You're correcting the correction?
No, I had to. Honestly, I needed to say something that didn't make sense at some point on this show, so I had to get that
unsent the correction. Got it.
Yeah, we're good. Either way, the point is, I'm with you there, Mary. I will say this though, I won't be disappointed in the Hangman win, because I also think I love Joe. But this Hangman stuff isn't done. What I would love to see, because I think Hangman's better at this than people give him credit for, is Joe to absolutely beat the brakes off of him for the majority of the match and a classic babyface comeback, and he absolutely is taken to the brink by it. And then the story coming out isn't rematch or anything like that. It's more of a head nod. Okay. Because I don't know if Joe's future is as a gnarly heel, considering what he talked about as far as his contract situation with AEW, where he believes this is the last contract he's signed as a professional wrestler and is leading towards retirement. I'd like to see Joe wrestle closer to a babyface, closer to what he'd been previously with AEW in the future. And let's let him get as heelish as possible here, get as close as he can, put on a heck of a show, and then catch a buckshot, and that's game. That's the way I look at it. But Ant, obviously, before we go, I got to get the way you look at it. What do you think based on last night? What do you think headed into Saturday this weekend?
Pretty much nobody stays retired in wrestling, so I take Joe's retirement talk with a grain of salt.
Grain of salt.
Yeah. So, obviously this match, the main event was done. Obviously to get LFI out of catering and to give Joe a win, to make him look more dominant going into the title match. That makes sense. Joe's a GOAT. Joe's in there for one reason and one reason only, to make Hangman look good. That's what it's being done for. Make Hangman look strong, if you prefer that term. Because right now, and I've said this before on the show, I firmly believe that Hangman Page is in a redemption tour. His first world title reign was not good. The chase was great. The reign sucked. And I really think it's a redemption to try to show that, hey, I'm not just good at a chase. I can actually be a world champion and be a credible world champion. Because, quite frankly, Samoa Joe in a lot of ways is like a Tony Storm, where he's big enough of a talent that he can absorb losses and it does nothing. Like, Joe has that mystique, that aura of Joe's going to kill you. That there's a reason why he's had that chant for over 20 years. Fans love Joe. So if Joe beats Hangman, I'm not going to be disappointed, because I'm a big fan of Samoa Joe. The logical choice is to have Hangman overcome and beat Joe. And for Joe to, acknowledge him of like, raise your hand, that type of stuff. Like Undertaker did with Jeff Hardy back in the day in the ladder match. Now, granted, Taker won, but he earned Taker's respect. Yeah. So I think you kind of do that with Joe. I think that's the smart move. Joe's not going to win the world title. You give Joe a world title almost in a situation where either A, it's, hey, one last hurrah, which he may already had, or a break glass in case of emergency, which is what they did for multiple of Moxley's title reigns.
Well, Joe, a bit of also padding stats would be the only other reason I would add, because I'm on the same page as you. Only padding stats does it make perfect sense there.
I mean, listen, the Cena one made sense because it broke a record.
Right.
Honestly, and I was of the opinion if it wasn't a record breaker, I know people wanted Cena to have another reign. I didn't really care. I was never a Cena guy, but like realistically, it was.
When it's interesting because we've even gotten the comments, Fernando, friend of the show, going, Dom versus Cena is a waste of time for Cena's retirement tour. That's the only box unchecked, though.
All right, bro.
It's not a waste if Cena gets
rise
his
above the hate. Ask Mary.
Yeah.
Listen,
This
if
shirt,
it checks the
this
box,
shirt's older than most of the people in the comments. Show some respect.
but like that's the thing. Like I understand it with checking the boxes. I know people said the same thing about like AJ Styles. Does AJ Styles need another world title reign? No, he's a future Hall of Famer in not only WWE but TNA and probably the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Like he's going in Hall of Fame. So like the stats really don't need that.
Best guys of all time.
Yes,
he's top 5 bell to bell ever. AJ is. I think
I can absolutely give a list on that. Like and AJ's in that top 5.
Easy
for me.
I will say we could talk about this the rest of the afternoon, especially with this crew. Thank you so much, though, for tuning in. I've got a new one for you. We always say like and subscribe, but also hit that notification button. That helps us out a ton. That way you can show up and then continue to like stuff.
Thanks for 10K on YouTube.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been an awesome week. We've got more great stuff coming up here at WR. Cannot wait to see you soon. Tomorrow we'll be back same time, same place. Of course, that's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock over on the East Coast. That's 8 o'clock in the UK and 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Thank you, everyone that tuned in, and have a great rest of your Thursday. We will talk to you soon. Peace.